appearing in 2A, which has been deducted from GB balance. If that balance is negative, the government is demanding that negative balance, which is that government says that you are not entitled to claim that input tax. Now the government is requiring the taxable person to pay it along with the interest. Whether this is a right from the part of the government, we'll wait for some time. I'm going to answer that question, whether this issue is right or wrong. And coming to the next issue with respect to input tax credit, the difference between GSTR 3B and GSTR 9. If you look at the box number 6 of the GSTR 9, in first row, the information relating to the input tax credit, what is availed in GSTR 3B returns for the 17-18, that 9 months input tax credit availed in GSTR 3B is clubbed together and given in the table 6 column row 1. And now in box 6 of the GSTR 9, column row 2 onwards, the taxable person is required to bifurcate that information into inputs, input services, and capital goods under the various heads. So, for example, in GSTR 3B for this 9 months, I have claimed 9 lakhs of input tax credit. But while filing my GSTR 9 in box number 6, I have given bifurcation for only 8,50,000 rupees. So the government says that in GSTR 9 box 6, your eligible input tax shown by you is only 8,50,000 rupees. But whereas in GSTR 3B, you have claimed input of 9 lakhs rupees. So why you are not required to pay that additional, that 50 lakhs of gap, 50,000 rupees of gap that the department is requiring you to pay back along with interest. The next issue comes in these notices is reversal of input tax credit with respect to GSTR 3B and GSTR 9 in box 7. For various reasons, the taxable person has reversed the input tax credit in his GSTR 3B return. That 9 months reversal, say it comes to 90,000 rupees. And while giving the bifurcation in GSTR 9 box 7, you have given details for 1 lakh of rupees. Say when you are giving this information, you have to bifurcate the information in GSTR 9 box 7 into section 17, section 37, section 38, section 42 and section 43, and input tax TRAN 1 reversal, TRAN 2 reversal, and other reversals. So under various heads, this information has to be bifurcated and given in the box 7. While giving that bifurcation, if anyone has mentioned excess reversal than the 3B reversal, now the government, that excess reversal you paid back along with the interest. That is the demand raised in these notices. And coming to output tax liability with respect to GSTR 1 versus GSTR 3B, that I have shown you the table in which the government is asking us to pay the output tax liability which is declared in GSTR 1, but less amount is declared in GSTR 3B. For the differences, the department is asking us to pay it back along with interest and applicable penalties. The next difference comes is TRAN 1 differences. This TRAN 1 difference is arising mainly on account of VAT 200 return and DCB register. So I think for each one of you are aware about what is VAT 200 return and what is DCB register. The differences between these two, VAT 200 and DCB register, there could be various reasons. But while filing the TRAN 1 application, everyone has followed the credit appearing in VAT 200 return. So if you look at the section 140 or 141, I'm not recollecting exactly. If you look at those sections, the credit appearing in the last return filed under the existing law, it says it is never talking about DCB register or any other register maintained by the department. Now, whether the government has a right to ask for this demand, let us wait for some time and we'll answer this. And in certain cases, there are short payment of tax liability has arisen. May be possible that while reconciling the books of accounts with the GSTR 3B and 1 returns, some taxpayers have identified that they have declared the less amount of output tax in their returns. So they have increased the tax liability in their GSTR 9 return and filed it. And also while filing the GSTR 9 return, they have paid the differential tax in DRC 03 and filed that return. Even when we cross-examine the information, in certain cases, they have increased the liability, but they have failed in filing the DRC 03 return application. So in those cases, there could be a possibility. And coming to the next issue under these notices is claim under the wrong head. In GSTR 2A, the input is appearing in IGST head, but whereas the taxable person has claimed under the CGST head and SGST head, or vice versa. In that situation, input tax credit mismatch is appearing in those cases. And in certain cases, the taxable person has paid the tax under the wrong head. So if you go back to your memories and if you recollect, while filing the July and August and September month returns of 2017, the taxpayer himself has to put in the information while generating the challan. After that, it has been made auto-population with respect to as per the set of table provided in the GSTR 3B return, and then it was allowing us to pay the tax appearing as per the 3B return set of table. But whereas in the initial stage, some people, instead of paying the tax under some persons, instead of paying tax under the IGST head, they have paid tax under the CGST and SGST head, or vice versa. This has happened in few cases. Let us continue the reasons. In some cases, we also came across that while filing the returns by the persons who are liable to tax under the reverse charge mechanism, that is, say in case of GTS or maybe in case of advocates, those who are under the reverse charge, they have made a mistake in filing the returns. So those kind of mistakes have been appearing. So I'll answer this question how to rectify this mistake. And next issue could be claiming of ineligible ITC. This ineligible ITC, prima facie, it is not known to the department, but after receipt of the notice from DRC 01 from the department on analyzing the information, in certain cases, we came to across that the registered person is not eligible to claim the ITC, but they have claimed. And in some notices, the arrears under the earlier law, which have been collected by the department during the GST regime and by blocking the input tax credit, but still the government is issuing notices for those cases where they have blocked the input tax credit. And in some cases, notices are being received for claiming of excess IGST input tax credit, where they have imported the goods. Only in case of those who have imported the goods, this is appearing because in the initial stage of implementation of GST, the information as per the ICE gate, that is customs website, the information was not made available to the GST network. So in those cases, the demands are arising. And the next is unreturned goods with respect to goods sent on approval. While filing the GSTR 9 return, though the information relating to the goods sent on approval was optional, but still certain taxable persons have disclosed this information that during the year we have dispatched say 1 crore of rupees on approval. Out of that, 90 lakhs have been received consent and we have raised the invoices, and 10 lakhs goods have been unreturned by the recipient. So on that 10 lakhs of rupees, now the government is proposing the tax on those transactions. It is noticed only in one or two notices, not much cases. And with respect to unpaid demands, the notice is also raising a demand against that in DRC 01. In case of box 15 of GSTR 9, though this information was optional to be given for 17, 18, 18, 19, 19, 20, and 21 for 2021, this information is optional. In box 15, the information relating to the refunds applied, refunds rejected, refunds granted, and refunds received by the taxable person and refunds pending. Along with these refunds, demands raised by the department, out of that remand, how much is paid and how much is unpaid. So if anybody has given information in box 15, that unpaid demands being added to the DRC 0. And in certain cases, the change in the values of GSTR 3B and GSTR 9. So while filing the annual return in GSTR 9, certain values, maybe the difference between financial statements and the 3B values, certain people have changed the information, but they have not paid the tax on those increase in the values. That cases, the demand is arising. And certain cases where the DRC 03 is filed along with the annual return, but while issuing the DRC 01 notice, the state government has not considered those DRC 03 payments, but issued the demand notice. And these are the list what I have discussed here is only a illustrative list, and it is not an exhaustive list. And there could be many more reasons for issuing the demands. So friends, now we have understood what are the reasons for which these notices have been issued by the department. Now let us understand what kind of a preparation we have to make before submitting the reply to the DRC 01 notice. Let us concentrate on that for some maybe 10 to 15 minutes. Before starting the submission of the reply, but don't be in a hurry to submit the reply. Once your client has received the notice, and the notice contains by what date you are required to submit the information or pay the tax. Don't worry for that. Because section 73 read with rule section 75, these two sections says that the taxable person has a right to take 3 adjournments. He has a right to take the 3 adjournments for giving the reply to the show cause notice. So one has to be very careful in submitting the reply. Because why I am saying this? Because any reply submitted now should stand to the test of Supreme Court. Till that stage, we have to understand the issue and we have to prepare for that, and then we have to analyze and we have to segregate the information with respect to law precedents, and then we have to submit the reply. So whatever the reply we are submitting today, if it is litigated further, maybe at the first appellate stage, second appellate stage, that is tribunal, or maybe before the High Court, or maybe before the Supreme Court, this reply should stand to the test. So that is the reason I'm saying that don't be in a hurry to submit the reply. Within that date, whatever is mentioned in the show cause notice, please apply for adjournment for maybe 15 days or 1 month. The department is bound to give you that time, because statutorily we are, or the taxable person is entitled for the adjournment 3 times. My dear brothers and sisters, please look into this slide, and basing on the information what I am going to talk to you, please make a preparation for this. Please ascertain the hard copy of DRC 01 and note on legacy areas, and make an analysis of these 2 forms, and from that arrive why the differences are coming, why the demand has arisen. So this is the first and foremost activity one has to do in identifying the reasons for demand. Then identify the relevant statutory provisions relating to these issues. Say in GSTR 2A versus 3B, what are the governing provisions? Say section 16, rule 36, sub rule 4, section 73, section 74, rule 142, and all other provisions relating to the GST input tax credit that we have to identify. These are the sections which are relevant for input tax credit. If there is a mismatch between GSTR 1 and GSTR 3B, then you have to identify the reasons and under which section the officer can ask for this information. So now we have to identify the statutory provisions of the CGST law or SGST law and relevant rules to address the issue. Then please identify the relevant precedents. I mean to say that High Court judgment and Supreme Court judgment and tribunal judgments, maybe which are issued under the service tax law, VAT law, CST law, or maybe entry tax law. All these will become relevant for GST also, because GST is nothing but the culmination of all these pre-existing laws and which has brought into GST. So those judgments also will become invariably valid and that can be used. So first you analyze the reasons, then list out the statutory provisions, then identify the precedents, that is case laws. Then please obtain the copy of GSTR 9 and 9C filed by that particular taxable person. So this could be done along with the first bullet, or maybe as a second part it can be done. Then after obtaining this copy, please obtain the summary of GSTR 1 for the 17-18, also summary of GSTR 3B written, and also download the GSTR 2A for that particular financial year. So if you tabulate this information, we can analyze what could be the reason. In case of legacy areas or maybe Tran 1 issues, one need to have the copy of VAT 200 return filed for the month of June 2017 and DCB report after filing the June 2017 return. So if you have filed June 2017 return on 20th July 2017, in that case, please take the report after June 2017 return. Then comes any previous communication made with the department with respect to the subject matter. Say in case of a turnover which was missed in the GSTR 3B return of 17-18, you have reported in 2018-19. To that extent, if you have prepared a letter and submitted to the jurisdictional officer and obtained the acknowledgement, then that acknowledgement will become vital information or vital evidence with respect to replying the show cause notice. That means any information, any document or the communication with respect to the issues which are to be addressed today, that in subject matter you need to obtain. And obtain the copy of DS03 filed along with the annual return. If you have this information in your hand, then we can move forward because we have identified the reasons, we have got the information documents, and also we have identified the provisions of the law to reply the notice, and also we have the Supreme Court or the High Court or tribunal judgment in view supporting our views. So now it will be our part to prepare the reply for the purpose of giving this reply to show cause notice. But what are all the options available to you? How you want to go and mitigate the issue and the close issue? According to my knowledge, there are three options are available. Option one, which I have colored in green, I want to say that if you don't want to litigate the issue and you want to close the issue, pay the tax along with the interest within 30 days of the issue of the notice, then you are not liable to pay the penalty. Then you buy the peace of mind from the department, no further investigation, nothing will happen. That is one option, safe option. But option two is available to us, litigate on the point of law. If you have any point of law, please litigate on that. And if you lose in the litigation, maybe at the tribunal level or maybe at the High Court level or Supreme Court level, if you lose the case, then your client will be held up in paying tax, interest and penalty. So option one is not advisable because accepting the demand made by the department is a foolish decision without inquiring and without going into the facts of the case and without examining the law and without understanding the issue. If you want to litigate the entire notice and going for litigation, that is also not a viable option. Then option three is what I say, that wherever the taxable person or you accept that there is a demand, actual demand against the taxable person, you pay that demand, notice is locked to that extent. On any other issues where you are not accepting the show cause notice, please litigate the issue and protect your right. So option 3 will be the proper option. One has to exercise with the wisdom, because wisdom will prevail over the knowledge always. Knowledge will guide us, but with wisdom we have to take the decision. And coming to the option we have exercised, we will go with option 3. Then how to mitigate the issue or how to close the issue. So we have two options, two things we have to put in your mind before you want to take any further step. There are certain issues with respect to law, and there are certain issues with respect to facts. So when you are saying that the issue is relating to the law, then how to resolve that? And when it is coming to the facts, how to resolve that? So these two issues I'm going to answer, and these two, so far we have only analyzed with respect to the notices and other issues and preparation. Now we are in the solution part, and I request your utmost attention now onwards. So when you want to litigate the issue with respect to the facts of law, I remember one case law of the Supreme Court, or a couple of case laws of Supreme Court, where they have designed the basic principles to be followed by a quasi-judicial or a judicial authority or a administrative authority while issuing a show cause notice. Any show cause notice issued by a judicial authority or a quasi-judicial authority or an administrative authority. I am categorizing authorities into three categories: judicial authorities, that is courts, and quasi-judicial authority is a fiscal law, the commercial tax department, or maybe CGST officers. They fall under the quasi-judicial authorities. Then the administrative authorities. These three authorities, while issuing the show cause notice, they have to follow certain basic principles. Whether the state government of Telangana, while issuing these notices, whether they are really followed these basic principles, let us analyze the judgment of the Supreme Court. Then let us come to conclusion whether they have followed it or not. These are the two famous judgments. ORYX Fisheries Private Limited, another is Kranti Associates. In these two judgments of the Supreme Court has categorically summed up 51 of its previous judgment. 51 of its previous judgments, and totally they have summed up into these two judgments. So the content of those 51 judgments of the previous judgments of the Supreme Court have been summed up and given as a judgment in these two cases. Let us clearly understand what the Supreme Court says while issuing a show cause notice, what kind of a basic principles the officer is required to follow. The first principle is recording of reasons if such decision affects anyone prejudicially. So any officer who is issuing a show cause notice, he has to record the reasons. But the DRC 01, what we have received, the reasons are saying that short payment or non-payment of output tax, or they are saying that discrepancy in GSTR 9. Is that reasons are sufficient? I have my own doubts. So it is mentioned that brief facts, but the facts need not be in a single word. Brief means it can run into 2 or 3 paragraphs, or maybe in 1 page or 2 page, or maybe 5 pages, maybe could be a brief facts of the case, but a single line or single word information cannot be called as a brief facts. So any reason which is going to affect the one prejudicially. What is prejudicially? That means the equivalent word in our mother tongue is called what do you call, one-sided, which is favoring one side, Pakshapatam, that is the exact word in Telugu is Pakshapata vidanga undakudadu, and the reasons officer has to record before issuing the show cause notice. The second principle is a quasi-judicial authority must record reasons in support of its conclusions. So the quasi-judicial authority, that is nothing but a GST officer, before issue of the show cause notice, he has to record these reasons in the show cause notice, not recording in his file. That is not sufficient. That recording should happen in the show cause notice before coming to conclusions. But these show cause notices does not contain any recordings. The third principle is justice must not only be done, it must also appear to be done as well. Very, very good principle given by the Supreme Court. The justice must not only be done, it should be appeared on the face of the document, that is order or a show cause notice. If you look at this show cause notice, there is no justice. And recording of reasons also operate as a valid restraint of any possible arbitrary exercise of powers. The Supreme Court says that if you record the reasons, it will prevent the officer to use the arbitrary powers. This says under section 70, the three officer is having the power to issue show cause notice. If he record the reasons, that will prevent him to exercise the powers which are not required, which are against the principles of natural justice. It will prevent the officer to use those excessive powers, these excessive exercise of the powers. Next is reasons reassured that discretion has been exercised by the decision maker on the relevant grounds and by disregarding the extraneous considerations. Very beautiful principle. The reasons should reassure. That means, first of all, he has to record the reasons, and once again, he has to go into those reasons and he has to reassure himself that he has not considered the extraneous considerations. Extraneous means irrelevant, not having bearing on the point of question. So, which is not required in the case. In this case, if the officer is using the information which is not at all relevant for the coming to conclusion, if he is using those extraneous consideration, then the show cause notice itself is void. Reasons have virtually become an indispensable and component of a decision-making process as observing in principles of natural justice. So those reasons on which the show cause notice is issued should become virtually indispensable. That means once a reason is given in the show cause notice, that should stand till the conclusion. So in these notices which have been issued, so-called the 5 lakh notices issued by the state of Telangana, there is no reasons be mentioned. If anyone challenged basing on these principles laid down by the Supreme Court in these two cases, if anyone files a writ petition, all the notices will be struck down by the High Court. That is my gut feeling, because I am not a person who is affected with these notices. I cannot file a writ petition. If any person has the courage to challenge these notices, if they file a writ petition before the High Court, and all these 5 lakh persons will get a lot of relief. And Supreme Court says that the reasons recorded by the proper officer must help or facilitate the judicial review by superior courts. So those reasons which, while issuing the show cause notice, which have been recorded by the officer, those reasons must help the higher courts to come to conclusion whether justice is delivered or not. But in these notices, no reasons are mentioned. So that is left to your wisdom whether to challenge it or not. We are following the same Supreme Court judgment where further principles are also mentioned. It is very big judgment, but for the purpose of benefit of us, that means you and me, I have taken the only bullet points and trying to analyze those points. Judicial or quasi-judicial decision serves one common purpose, which has to be demonstrated by reasons that the relevant factors have been objectively considered. This is important for sustaining the litigants' faith in the justice delivery system. So, These judicial or quasi-judicial authorities should have a common purpose, and that purpose should be demonstrated by recording the reasons, and that factor have to be objectively considered in establishing that the justice is made and the litigant, that means the taxable person's faith is built up in the judiciary system. But when a quasi-judicial authority, without following this principle, if he issues a show cause notice, then that show cause notice is not tenable in law. Instances on reasons is a requirement for both judicial accountability and the transparency. The reasons which are to be recorded should made such that the judicial accountability, that means if any judge gives a judgment basing on the reasons recorded by the officer, that accountability should be there, judicial accountability should be there, and there should be a transparent system of recording the reasons. Next principle is decision-making process. Then it is impossible to know whether the person deciding is faithful to the doctrine of precedents or to the principles of incrementalism. So the Supreme Court here, it says that the doctrine of precedents. So whatever the previous judgments given by the Supreme Court or the High Court or the tribunal, that to be kept in mind while issuing the or while taking the decision making process. And this also, the principle of incrementalism should be followed by the officer. Incrementalism means any information which is used by the officer while recording the reasons for the show cause notice, if this information is not from the assessee, if the information is from the third party, that information which is not available with the assessee should be made available to the assessee, thus that he'll be able to, this system should help him to examine those outside information which is not otherwise available to the taxable person, that should be made available, and the proper the taxable person should be given an opportunity to examine those that information. The next principle is transparency in decision making not only makes the judges and decision makers less prone to errors, but also makes the subject to broader scrutiny. So the recording of reasons helps the decision-making process less prone. So once you record the reasons, that will make the judges or the officers to make the less mistakes, and in any future date, any scrutiny is there, that they'll be stand to the test of judiciary. So the recording of reasons will help the officer to withstand this. And adequate and intelligent reasons must be given for judicial decisions. So the recording of reasons should be adequate and also intelligent. So in these notices, the tables given for the annexure to the DRC1, there is no intelligent information is there, and the information is not also adequate to come to conclusions. So how this table, the mathematical table issued in this respect, is going to help the decision making at a future date, I have my own doubts. And there is no intelligent information is there. So it's all comparison between GSTR 2A and 3B, GSTR 1 and 3B, and GSTR 3B and the GSTR 9, and GSTR 9 with the TRAN 1 and TRAN 2 with the GSTR 9. So there is no intelligent information. It is already there existing. All this information is already exists with the server. So there is no such intelligent or adequate reasons have been given in the show cause notices. So friends, these are the basic principles to be followed by any officer before issuing a show cause notice. Now let us come to next. What I am going to discuss is while submitting the reply to the show cause notice, how we are going to mitigate or how we are going to help our client. That is going to be the, now onwards, we are going to answer all those issues which one has to frame in mind for answering these show cause notices. The first point one has to give in his show cause reply to show cause notice that the show cause notice has not followed the basic principles for issue of show cause notice what we have examined in the two previous slides. Though that is going to be the first reply to show cause notice. The next is going to be the presumption or the burden of proof. If you look at the government of the law, which is prescribed in the GST law, the burden of proof is always lies on the department to prove that you have made this mistake, that you have not followed this provision, you have not followed this rule. So why a tax cannot be demanded from you, why interest cannot be demanded from you, and why penalty cannot be demanded from the taxable person. But whereas if you look at the notice issued by the state of Telangana, all these places, the burden is casted on the taxpayer. It is reverse situation. It is always the tax officer has to frame the reasons and has to inquire and has to give the reasons. What are the reasons you are liable to pay the tax? But in this case, it is reverse. That is not expected from the tax officer. Next, the show cause notice cannot be in the way of a fishing nature. It must be clear, conclusive, unambiguous, and definite. So show cause notices should not be fishing in nature. So in this particular line of activity, all the persons are taking invalid or fake invoice input tax credit. So on all the trade, if the department issues a notices on that particular trade, then that is nothing but a fishing in nature. So those kind of notices is not expected from the department. And any show cause notice, it must be clear of what the allegation is made, on what section and what rule and what principles the taxable person has violated the law. It should be clearly mentioned in the show cause notice. In these notices, nowhere it is been clearly mentioned. And the show cause notice should be conclusive on all aspects. Conclusive aspect of sections, rules, figures, calculations, everything. But the notice says that along with the interest. So that is not, the department should calculate the interest for till the issue of the show cause notice, what amount of interest is liable and what amount of penalty is liable, under which section the penalty is liable, under which section the interest is liable, and what section you have violated. These conclusive proofs are not given in the show cause, none of the show cause notices. And coming to the unambiguous, these notices should be clear, understandable. There should not be any ambiguity in understanding the show cause notice. But if you look at these notices, no notice is clear. One has to understand the GST law. First, to understand these notices, one has to understand 3B, one has to understand what is GSTR1, one has to understand what is GSTR2A, one has to understand what is GSTR9, and one has to understand what is GSTR9. This is not meant for the businessman to learn GST. If he is expected to learn GST, why we are there? So the show cause notice should be unambiguous. It should give clear and conclusive conclusions basing on which the officer is demanding the tax. In all these notices, nothing is clear. and the amount should be definite. But in these notices, interest is not definite, penalty is not definite. And if you look at section 11 of the section 73, it says that if the taxable person has paid the tax, interest and penalty, tax and interest within 30 days of the receipt of the notice, no penalty will be levied on him. But if you look at this, if at the notice, they have given only 1 week of time. So subsection 11 of section 73 gives us the 30 days time. But whereas these officers are giving in a hurry to collect the revenue, it is in the interest of revenue, they are giving us the 7 days time, which is in violation of the law. Definitely, it is violation of law. When section 73 subsection 11 is saying 30 days time is given, but these notices are given only for 30 days. So there is no definite finding in these notices. Next is show cause notice must give an opportunity and should be appear to be the same. What I mean to say here, the principles of natural justice, that is opportunity of being heard, opportunity of to represent the case, opportunity, all kinds of opportunity of maybe taking the adjournments, it should be not become a formality, it should be there in real sense, it should be apparent. But in all these notices, before so and so date, you submit this reply. And if you go to the how to submit the reply, there is one box which says that if you want to have the personal hearing, you click this box. That means if anybody does by mistake does not click that box, then he is losing the opportunity of personal hearing. But justice is not like that. Principles of natural justice should be equal to everyone. That is not being followed. Next point I want to raise is show cause notice must not appear like a best judgment assessment order and being giving opportunity as a formality. If you look at all these notices, maybe that 5 lakhs notices or 6 lakh notices issued by the state government are appearing to be a best judgment assessment. Nevertheless, they are appearing to be as a best judgment as appearance notices. If it does not pay tax even with 7 days, you will be assessed for the tax, and your bank account or any other asset will be attached. That is what is coming out of these notices. Though the notice should not speak like that. The notice should give the opportunity, and also the notice should follow the principles of natural justice. And if you look at the procedure followed by the central GST officers and the state GST officers, both are in parametry, they are both standing in 2 different legs. The central officers will give show cause notice after inquiring, after coming to conclusions, after clearing the doubts, and which is clear, and they come with the definite point of tax statute that why you are liable to pay the tax. But whereas if you look at the table which is given in the annexure to the DRC 01, it understand that it is never a clear statement. Next, GST show cause notice not following the principles of natural justice. And whenever any show cause notice is not following the principles of natural justice as per the Supreme Court judgments, it is void ab initio. That means the issue of show cause notice itself is wrong. So one need not answer those things, those notices. That is one Supreme Court judgment. So next, let us continue the same topic. Any show cause notice issued by the department, that is quasi-judicial authorities, it is going to have an economic impact on running of the business. So any officer should not do that activity. So one should not impact the economic impact of the running of the business. By issue of this show cause notice, you are impacting the economic impact on the business. in a way that show cause notice is resulting into constraint for right to trade, what is established under Article 14 of the Constitution of India, that is fundamental right to trade. By issue of these show cause notices, that fundamental right is disturbed by these notices. That is what my feeling is. And next point we have to put in the reply to show cause notice is a quasi-judicial authority must frame conclusions comprehensively while issuing the show cause notice, not prejudiced, that is, with open mind before framing the allegations. When you are making an allegation against a taxable person, the officer should think with an open mind with intention to give the justice to the taxable person. He has to draw the conclusions, but whereas in these notices, that is not at all appearing. Coming to the principles of natural justice, it should appear in true spirit, and also the show cause notice should not have followed the principles of bias. So with the intention to increase the revenue in a hurry, by forgetting the principles of natural justice with a biased intention only to augment the revenue, only for the support the exchequer, the state government officials have issued the notices. When you have the biased intention to collect the revenue, then those notices cannot withstand the test of the law. And the most important principle one has to follow before issuing of the show cause notice: no person should judge in his own cause. That means if Satish Saraf is making an inquiry and framing the allegations and recording the reasons and issuing the show cause notice, to that show cause notice, Satish Saraf, that is my own cause, I am not competent to make the assessment. Any other officer or the superior officer should make the assessment. So if you recollect your memories with respect to income tax rates and surveys, the investigation wing passes the show cause notice, or they make the inquiry, or they make the search, but the assessment is made by the central wing. So that same principle should be followed in GST also. When any notice is issued by me, for that notice, I am not competent to make the assessment because I cannot judge my own cause. This is against the principles of justice. So friends, these are the principles one has to follow with respect to the issue of the show cause notice, and our state government has failed in following all these principles. I humbly request this forum, please take this issue before the High Court to its writ jurisdiction. Then all these 5 lakhs persons will get relief out of the writ jurisdiction of the High Court. Next, coming to the present GST state show cause notices. So, how to address these show cause notices, let us discuss on these issues. If you look at all these notices, except section 73, no other section is mentioned in these show cause notices. If I have made a mistake in claiming the input tax credit under section 16 or section 17 or rule 43 or rule 43, that should be mentioned in these show cause notices, but none of these show cause notices, these sections have been mentioned. And under which section they are exercising the jurisdiction, nowhere it is mentioned in the show cause notices. And if I am not followed section 9 of the CGST Act or SGST Act with respect to levy, that section 9 nowhere mentioned. If you look at section 37, 38 and 39, so section 37, which talks about GSTR 1, nowhere it is mentioned. Section 38, which is not into operations. Section 39, which deals with GSTR 3 and 3B, nowhere these sections have been mentioned. So none of these sections, without mentioning any other allegations under any other section, only section 73 is mentioned as a prototype. they have been mentioned. This could be the our one of the objections in the show cause notice. And personal hearing has become a idol worship, nothing than that. So only for a formality's sake, in filing the replies, there is one box where you have to tick whether you want personal hearing or not. Basing on that tick, if you ticked it, then they will give personal hearing. If you forgot to tick that box, then you will not be given any personal hearing. So I say that personal hearing has become a idol worship because it is always one-sided. And while issuing the show cause notice, brief facts of the case and the grounds of the show cause notice are not clearly mentioned and they are not self-explanatory. So only giving the reasons that short payment or non-payment of tax. So officer himself is not confident that whether it is short payment or whether it is non-payment of tax. That kind of show cause notice, what it is, I don't know. And if you look at the show cause notice, in the ground, they mentioned discrepancy in GSTR 9. So discrepancy in GSTR 9, there cannot be any discrepancy in GSTR 9. If you arithmetically total the GSTR 9, it will match. There is no discrepancy at all. When you compare the data with other information, then only there could be a discrepancy. But there is no discrepancy in GSTR 9. And friends, come to the mathematical calculations used in the table, which is appended as a appendix table, which is appended to the DRC 01 notice. For a businessman, it is impossible to understand. Even for experts like you and me, those we are dealing in regularly day in and day out on the issues relating to the GST. So we could able to, after spending couple of hours only, we are able to understand what is the real content of the table, that mathematical table. But if you are a layman to the GST and if you are a normal businessman, it is impossible to understand this. And section 73 read with rule 142 1A, sub-rule 1A. Rule 142 sub-rule 1A says that before issue of the show cause notice in DRC 01, the officer shall, the word initially it was shall was there. It has been made as may issue a statement in a pre-show cause notice in DRC 01A. This is what is sub-rule 1A of rule 142. And if you look at section 73, subsection 2 or 3, it says that before issue of this notice by the proper officer, if the taxable person pays the tax along with the required interest, then the proper officer is not required to issue show cause notice, that it says. That means before issuing the show cause notice, the principle laid down in section 73, when it is read with rule 142 1A, that a pre-show cause notice need to be issued. Then if the taxable person does not respond to that, then a show cause notice to be issued. When the section, that is section 73, says that a pre-show cause notice can be issued to be served, and in rule 142 1A, the word shall has been made it to may, but when the section says the parent, the statute says the rules cannot override the provisions in the statute act. So that may always should be read as shall. When it is to be read as shall, that means before issue of DRC 01, the department invariably should issue DRC 01A. That department has failed on this account. And in some cases, we have noticed that DRC 01 is not appearing in the portal, but a note on the legacy areas are given by the mails. When we are in the electronic era, a show cause notice should appear in the GST portal. When that is not appearing in GST portal, that amounts that a show cause notice is not being served. That one has to take this stand. And coming to the document identification number, but in GST, with respect to the Central Tax Department, Central GST Department, the issue of the use of DIN number was made mandatory by the union, but that is not applicable to the states. But of late, our state government is using some reference number. But if you look at closely this reference number and the DIN number, if you go to the GST site, that is www.cbic.gov.in, you can examine whether the DIN number mentioned in the notice is genuine or not, you can know. But whereas with coming to the state notices, that reference number, whether it is genuine or not, we cannot know. And the Union of India has given one press release on 3rd July 2019, explaining the various aspects relating to the GSTR 9. In point number C of that press release, the press release said that the comparison between GSTR 2A and GSTR 3B data is only for the purpose of settlement of funds between the state and central. That was what is made clear in the press release dated 3rd July 2019. In one of the Twitter, the Finance Ministry has said the discrepancy in GSTR 2A and GSTR 3B will not be harshly implemented against the taxpayer. But today, if you look at these notices, GSTR 2A and GSTR 3B differences are harshly implemented. This is against the intentions of the lawmakers. And one more question I have before you. Any pre-GST demands, that any legacy demands, can it come under the GST show cause notices? Let me be very clear with you. While filing the Tran 1 application, we have considered the VAT 200 return for the month of June 2017, and whatever the amount appearing in VAT 200 for the month of June, we have taken that as a credit to the GST regime as a SGST credit. Now the government is coming forward and saying that, let us assume that VAT 200 was carrying 6 lakhs of input ITC carry forward. But in DCB registered maintained by the state government, in their portal, it shows that DCB register balance is around 5,50,000 rupees. Now in the GST show cause notice, the difference of 50,000 between 6 lakhs and 5,50,000, now they are proposing. Whether that is attainable under the law is one of the biggest question one has to examine. There are two possibilities. If the VAT 200 return for the month of June says it is 6 lakhs, but you have claimed 6 lakhs 50,000 rupees, or say 7 lakhs you have claimed, for that 1 lakh of excess claim, the GST department, GST Act has a right to recover the tax under the GST law, and that can be part of your GST show cause notice. But for the difference of 5,50,000 and the 6 lakhs of rupees, that can never be the part of GST proceedings. For that recovery of 50,000 rupees, you can recover under the GST law, no doubt, because under the transition provisions, any demand under the existing law can be recovered under the GST law. But issue relating to the pre-GST, for that the assessment under the GST cannot be used. So now all these notices, wherever there is a discrepancy in Tran 1, they are proposing in the DRC 01. That is illegal. There are plethora of judgments. Say one of the judgment in Haryana in 2003 says that the Haryana state government has issued a show cause notice and has passed an assessment order under the VAT laws for the issue relating to the pre-VAT laws. So Haryana High Court struck down the assessment order and said that anything relating to the pre-VAT period, that assessment cannot be made in VAT regime. So that is what basis. So on what basis the High Court of Haryana has come to conclusion? Say if you look at this section, if you look at the GST law, at the end of the GST law, there is one provisions for the repeal and the savings. So VAT laws relating to the goods which are brought into the GST have been repealed. And if you look at the section 6 capital A of the General Clauses Act, it says once the law is repealed, after repeal, a new proceeding cannot be made under the law or any other law. So any demand which is crystallized during the pre-GST period or any notice issued before implementation of the GST, so those notices, those things can run over during the GST period. But for the purpose of making a assessment during a GST regime, the department cannot use GST as a mechanism to recover the tax or to make the assessment. So section 6 capital A of the General Clauses Act is going to help us in this regard. And if you look at these notices, whether the notice is issued for the short payment or for excess claim of input tax credit or for the purpose of erroneous refund, or it is issued for 1718 or for 1819 or 1920 or 2021, if they are making a bucket, all these things are being put into one bucket and they are issuing the show cause notice. It is for the short payment stroke excess ITC claimant stroke erroneous refund stroke non-payment of GST stroke for the year 17, 18, 18, 19, 19, 20, 21. So for these many reasons, one show cause notice cannot be issued. Yes, they have a right to issue for these notices, but those reasons should be recorded. This reason for short payment, this reason for non-payment, this reason for excess claim of ITC, this reason for erroneous refund, this reason for 1718, this is the reason for 1819, like that categorically they have to mention in the show cause notice for issuing the show cause notice. So friends, with respect to the law, I conclude here and let us move into the facts on which, based on which we can address the show cause notices. Srinivas Garu, am I clear up to here?
Yes, sir. Please continue.
Thank you. Because in virtual mode, I'm unable to look into the faces of the audience. Just for of clarification, I'm asking whether up to here I'm okay.
Everyone is keen in observing your delivery.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
And friends, to keep you attentive till the last slide, I have kept that GSTR 2A and 3B issue in the last, and I'm discussing first the other issues. After completing these issues, I'll go to 2A and 3B, because 2A and 3B is the burning issue. I will take up it at the last, and before that I'll answer other issues so that I can keep you to listen to me till the last. Coming to the Tran 1 differences, the department has made a comparison between VAT 200 and DCB register, and any difference out of these two, they are asking us to pay the difference. And in certain cases, it is noticed that for the differences, already the State Department has blocked the electronic credit ledger. After blocking the credit ledger, again they are proposing in the show cause notice. How far it is justified? Just you think on this. So to mitigate this issue, because the issue relating to the VAT, Telangana VAT Act 2005, but first one has to go to the department and set it in the DCB register. Because my VAT 200 return says that my input tax credit carry forward is 6 lakhs of rupees, but whereas your DCB register shows a 5,50,000 rupees, there could be a reasons for reconciliation, there could be a mismatch, there could be lapses in DSTR 3B For these reasons, first one has to approach the concerned officer and let them rectify the DCB register, and after rectification, obtain a copy of the DCB register and attach that DCB register along with the VAT 200 return and file it. Coming to the cases wherever it is in the electronic credit ledger, the input is blocked, I advise them, please, if it is genuine case, pay the tax by using DRC03 and then request the department for unblocking the electronic credit ledger. That could be the possible solution in this case. Next issue is short payment of GST. It is noticed that while filing GSTR 9 returns, any additional liability, that means whatever the turnovers reported in GSTR 3B, if it is found to be less than the turnover as per the financial statement, that is profit and loss account, then for the difference, the taxable person has increased the turnover in GSTR 9 return, because that is the last opportunity to rectify your mistakes. So genuinely you have increased the tax liability, that one has to appreciate them. After doing that, certain persons have paid that additional liability by way of filing DRC03 application along with interest. But these notices, without considering the payment made under the DRC03 and issuing the show cause notices. If that is only the issue in your show cause notice, better attach the copy of the DRC03 and your calculation sheet and submit the response that this demand is already paid by way of DRC03 so and so date along with interest. Then the officer has to drop the proceedings. If you have not paid while filing the GSTR 9 return by way of DRC03, now you have to calculate the tax, additional tax, along with the interest under section 50 subsection 1 at the rate of 18% per annum till the date of payment of that tax by way of DRC03, calculate and pay it along with the calculations, submit the copy of DRC03 paid today and submit to the proper officer. If that is only the issue in your show cause notice, then that will be closed. Coming to the GSTR 1 versus GSTR 3B issues. There are various reasons are possible for these issues. One is certain persons have failed to upload the credit notes in GSTR 1, but these credit notes have been considered while filing the GSTR 3B. In those cases, request the officer to consider these GSTR credit notes and issue us give us the relief. But for those credit notes for the year 17-18, now you don't have any option to file or report those transactions. By virtue of section 34, you have lost that opportunity. But if the officer having the mercy and if he is judicious and if he allows you, then he may allow that credit notes and eliminate the demand. And whatever the short reporting with respect to turnover in GSTR 1 and 3B, certain persons have included that turnover in GSTR 9 and paid the GSTR DRC03, those persons can accordingly answer that. In some cases, what has happened, the difference between GSTR 1 and GSTR 3B, they have paid the tax in the subsequent years. So 17-18 relating demand, they have paid the tax, say for example, in June 2018. So if you take that, if you bring that fact to the notice of the proper officer, then if you could able to demonstrate that June 2018 GSTR 1 difference and the GSTR 3B difference is this much, that is the turnover relating to the 17-18 is reported in June 2018, and then accordingly you can get over the trouble. The next issue what we came across is in case of certain persons who are liable to pay tax under the reverse charge mechanism while filing the GSTR 1, because those who are liable for reverse charge mechanism, for them GSTR 3B will be GSTR 3B, but while filing the GSTR 1 return, while filling the information, they have to tick a box. This transaction is liable to reverse charge mechanism. So they have failed in ticking that box. So that is now triggering as a difference between GSTR1 and GSTR3B. For them, I have a solution here. In one of the cases where we have amended the transaction relating to the July 2017 in the month of February 2021. We have amended that. So by after amending, take a screenshot of that transaction and now submit to the officer that the transaction was liable for reverse charge mechanism under section 9 subsection 3 or subsection 3. Then it was inadvertently by mistake not been clicked. Now the same has been amended by clicking on that. So now it has been amended, it has been filed rightly. So now you can ignore the demand between difference between GSTR1 and GSTR3B. If you explain the facts properly, then the proper officer has to drop the proceedings. The next issue. Coming to the difference in input tax credit between GSTR 3B and GSTR 9 with respect to box 6. Friends, in box 6 of the GSTR 9, the first row will be the auto-populated figure as per the GSTR 3B. So certain amount will be auto-populated in first row of the box 6 of GSTR 9. Below that, the taxable person is required to give the bifurcation of that input tax credit into various heads, like on goods, on inputs, on input services, on capital goods, under reverse charge mechanism, under import of goods, under the regular purchase scheme, and all these heads bifurcation is required to be given. While giving the bifurcated figures for the in box 6 of GSTR 9, certain times the taxpayer has made a mistake. If the mistake is genuine, then please explain to the officer, then he has to take appropriate action. But in certain cases, I have claimed 10 lakhs of input tax credit, but after reversal, my right is only 9 lakhs. Intentionally, I have reduced my input tax credit in GSTR 9. In that case, 10 lakhs minus 9 lakhs, that 1 lakh is my liability. Now I have to pay that along with interest. Please pay interest and the tax, then your case will be closed. Coming to the next issue, ITC reversal with respect to box number 7 of GSTR 9 and GSTR 3B comparison. Here what happened? While reversing the input tax credit month-on-month basis, certain amounts as a one single amount which has been reflected in the GSTR 3B return. But while filing the GSTR 9, in box 7, the bifurcation of that reverse has to be given under various heads like section 37 reversal, section 42 reversal, section 43 reversal, section 17 reversal, and many other like TRAN 1 reversal, TRAN 2 reversal. While giving that bifurcation of reversal with respect to GSTR 3B and bifurcation in box 7 of GSTR 9, certain mistakes have been made. If the reversal is more in box 7, GSTR 9, now the department is asking to pay that. If that more reversal is made in GSTR 9 box 7 is proper, then pay that excess reversal and also pay the tax interest till date and close the issue. If it is not genuine, by mistake it has been done, please explain the officer that why it has been reversed without understanding the properly, because it is being the first year of implementation of GST and a lot of hardship is there on the taxpayers to do the activity, and the subject was new and various reasons are there. So he explained those reasons and give the reply. Coming to the next issue, that is excess claim of IGST input tax credit with respect to import of goods that has happened. So initial couple of months, the IceGate data was may not made available to the GSTN portal. So there is a mismatch. So please identify those mismatches and please scan the copies of the bill of entry and the customs duty paid along with the IGST. Please scan those copies of custom payment document along with the IGST and the bill of entries, scan them and attach as a proof. Then the profit officer has to give us the credit under the IGST, because in the initial period, the credit was not made available with respect to the imported goods. And coming to the unreturned goods with respect to goods sent on approval, though the information is optional, if those unreturned goods, as on the date of filing of annual return, if it is unreturned subject to approval, if those approvals are given after the financial year, then submit that information. Otherwise, it amounts to a deemed sale, then you will be liable to pay the tax. In GSTR 9, box 15 prescribes the information relating to the refunds and demands. If anybody who has given that information, though the information was optional, certain persons have been given voluntarily that information. If any demand which is unpaid at the time of filing of annual return, if it is shown, then that is legitimate liability. You are required to pay the demand along with interest. If that interest and demand is already paid, then take that information to the notice of the officer and then he has to close the issue. Coming to the areas under the earlier law, now under the GST law, they have only the authority to recover the demands which are there before the GST law, but they cannot make a fresh assessment during the GST by including that transaction into DRC 01. So if they are doing, then they are crossing their jurisdiction and they are not allowed to do that illegal activity. Friends, much awaited. You have been waiting for me to listen how to mitigate the issue between GSTR 2A and 3B. My next two slides are going to explain you how to mitigate that issue. Most of the notices, I can say that 99.99% notices are with respect to the difference between GSTR 2A and GSTR 3B. So the information as per the press release dated 3rd July 2019 was captured on 31st May 2019. So any invoice uploaded by the supplier after 31st May 2019 is not auto-populated in GSTR 2A for the purpose of GSTR 9. So friends, please download the GSTR 2A of 1718 today and compare the input tax credit with respect to the GSTR 2A and GSTR 3B. Still, there is a differences, that is mitigated. And the press release we dated 3rd July 2019, it is only for settlement of funds between the state and central. It cannot be enforced against us as per the Twitter given by the Union Finance Ministry. And section 38 and rule 60 sub-rule 1 deals with the GSTR 2A, and section 39 and rule 61 sub-rule Rule 61 sub-rule 5 deals with GSTR 3B, because for the purpose of explaining the facts to the officer, I have given you here for information purposes. Then next I'll move to Rule 36 sub-rule 4. Rule 36 sub-rule 4, which is implemented from 9th October 2019 onwards. So any discrepancy between GSTR 2A and 3B is not statutorily brought into the law before 9th October 2019. That means for the year 17-18, comparison between 2A and 3B is not statutory authority, statutory power, or if they are doing, they are crossing the jurisdiction. This is very clear. And this amendment is prospective in nature, not retrospective in nature. Please keep this point in your show cause notice, reply to show cause. Then comes the another allegation, another submission in the show cause notice. Initially, when GST law was designed, It was designed with 5 forms: GSTR1, GSTR1A, GSTR2A, GSTR2, and GSTR3 returns. So the information uploaded by the supplier in GSTR1 will be auto-populated in GSTR2A. If any information of the recipient is missing in GSTR2A, then he has an option of including that information in GSTR1A. Basing on this information in GSTR1A, the supplier will rectify his GSTR1A, and that GSTR1 information and GSTR1A information will automatically auto-populate in GSTR2A. That 2 information will come and sit into the GSTR3 return. That was the scheme which was envisaged and which was implemented at the time of implementing the law. But of late, the reasons best known to the government, they have not implemented this scheme at all. By scrapping this scheme, they have brought GSTR1 and GSTR3B only. That means the verification of the right of the taxpayer with respect to input tax credit was not given. The right was not available, made available to the recipient. That is violation of principles of natural justice and also the Article 14 of Constitution. And there is no other alternative mechanism is made available to the taxpayer. But how we could expect that the taxpayer will follow GSTR 2A and 3B? So, in utterly, the government has failed in implementing this scheme. Now the state government is asking to pay the difference between 2A and 3B illegally. So, this could be the best objection to the show cause notice. If you are litigating, then you are going to win. May not be at the officer level, maybe at a higher level, you are going to win the case. That is definite. I stand to support you. Next, Madras High Court in Sun Dichem Limited categorically held. Just we'll read these 2 paragraphs of the judgment. We can understand how much the Madras High Court shouted on the department and giving the order. So I'll give you the brief facts of this case and then we'll read these 2 paragraphs. The taxpayer went to the High Court and said that I am not having the opportunity to verify my input tax credit and I should be given an opportunity to revise my GSTR 3B return. Basing on this plea, the High Court of Madras in case of Sun Dichem has given judgment saying that the petitioner's GSTR 3B should be allowed to be revised. And then accordingly, the judgment in para 19, the Madras High Court said, admittedly, the 31st March of 2019 was the last date by which rectification of Form GSTR 1 may be sought. However, and also admittedly, the forms by filing of which the petitioner might have noticed the error and sought amendment wise GSTR 2A and GSTR 1A are not yet to be notified. Had the requisite forms have been notified, the mismatch between the details of credit in the petitioner's and the supplier's return might well have been noticed and appropriate timely action taken. So, whatever I said in the last bullet point of this slide is not my own words. It is the Madras High Court which has said, if timely the other alternative is made available by the department to the tax, that is recipient, he might have taken the corrective action and he might have corrected his mistake. Then today this situation now might have not come. If you look at para 20, in the absence of an enabling mechanism, the alternative mechanism, or the 2A and 1A mechanism, I am of the view the assessee should not be prejudiced from availing the credit that they are otherwise legitimately entitled to. So whatever I said, the force I have taken from the Madras High Court judgment in Sun Dai Chem. So friends, this is not Satish saying, it is Madras High Court saying. Madras High Court is rescuing you. Please take this judgment in your reply to Shoka's notice and please help the assessees come out of the clutches of the department. Friends, I feel whatever kind of information or background or the justifications required to reply to the Shoka's notice I have given. Now I will move to the filing process. So practically, virtually, how you have to submit the reply to the Shoka's notice. I'm going to demonstrate you in maybe 5 to 6 minutes. Please be patient. Please follow my instructions, which are very, everybody is aware of these steps, but for the purpose of understanding for the layman or to the businessman, you please spare next to 4 to 5 minutes in listening to me. When you log into the GSTN portal of a particular taxpayer, under the services, go to user services. Under view additional notices and orders. If you click this icon that is laid into the view additional notices and orders, you will get this screen. In this screen, on the right hand side, if you click view, then next screen will appear before you. This screen will appear like this. On the left hand side, you have 3 options. One is notices. From this icon, you can download the notices, you can view the notices, and the next icon is replies. And the third icon is orders. So under the replies icon, if you click add reply button will appear in front of you. If you click the add reply button, then reply will be it will be auto-populated. If you click on the reply button, then next screen will appear to you. In this screen, very small box is given for the purpose of reply. So in this box, whatever we have discussed, the entire thing cannot be narrated and submitted. If you look at the right hand side, there is one circle which says personal hearing is required or not, question mark. So if you slide that circle, then it will glow into green. Then if you slide it, then only a personal hearing will be granted to you. If it does not slide it, if you forget to slide this, then personal hearing will not be granted to you. So friends, in the reply box, very small box is given to us. In that, please mention that all the replies to the Shoka's notice, the allegations made in the Shoka's notice have been submitted by way of an attachment. So how many attachments one can file? So here the department has given maximum up to 4 attachments one can file. Each attachment should be in the format of PDF or in the format of JPEG, and that each attachment can be up to 5 MB size. So whatever you want to file, maybe a Supreme Court judgment or a tribunal judgment or a High Court judgment, or maybe your all the replies to the each and every point in the Shoka's notice, all these things to be typed and converted into PDF, duly signed and scanned in 4 attachment, one can file it. After attaching the attachments, 4 attachment of each 5 MB, that means up to 20 MB you can submit. Say what happens if you have more attachments and more MB of data is required. I advise you, before filing this, exercising this option, please submit the physical copies of those attachments before the judicial officer and take the acknowledgement. You scan acknowledgement as an attachment to this reply. Because the officer should know that if you, after this, if you submit there, then you don't have the acknowledgement to be uploaded. So please physically submit those attachments by way of a Xerox copies or maybe originals, and take the acknowledgement that I have submitted these attachments with you. Then you scan the acknowledgement receipt and also attach that acknowledgement as the one of the attachment here. And if you go below, there is a one option tick that I have confirmed the consultation and all this information is true and correct and all these things. Then you have to drop down box will come where you have to select the taxpayer name, and then you have to put the place, and then with the help of EVC or by help of a DSC, you can submit the reply to show cause notice. Once you submit this reply to show cause notice, then the officer may throw upon another query on you that your additional information is required from you, that will be auto-populated under the notices. Then accordingly, again, you have to submit it. Once the officer is satisfied with the information submitted by you, he'll pass an order that will be appearing in the order icon. From there, you can download. So physically visiting the office and meeting the officer, if you follow 20 MB attachment, not required, then the officer will make the assessment online. So this is how the entire scheme is designed. So I think I came to my last slide of my presentation. Thank you very much for your patient and patient hearing. Thank you very much, one and all.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot for your excellent presentation. I think few members are having questions. One is Mr. V11101.
Sir, can I stop sharing my presentation?
Yes, sir, you can. You can, sir.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Vivo1901, you can speak, sir, now. Are you there?
Amarinder sir want to speak.
He is not there. 1 minute, sir. One more participant is there.
R.R. Raghavendra.
R.R. Raghavendra. Mr. Raghavendra.
Yes, hello, sir.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, thank you for the meeting, sir. My doubt here is, sir was saying that we have to submit the copies at the department.
Yes.
What if the department refuses to accept physical copies? Because that happened with one of our clients.
Yeah, if the department is not accepting the physical copies, send it by the registered courier, registered post.
Okay. Thank you.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Amarinder sir want to speak.
Yeah, Mr. V.N. Prasad.
Yeah, Satish.
Sir, good evening, sir.
How are you?
I'm good, sir. How are you, sir?
Nice presentation.
Thank you, sir.
I'm from the beginning. I am listening you. I have a query.
Sir, please go ahead.
First thing is what you are telling, that Rule 36(4) is from 9/10/2019.
Yes, sir.
Okay, that is procedural. What subject to the procedural? What I'm telling you, Section 16(2) speaks about 4 conditions.
Yes, sir.
Basically, section is there. There
Yes,
must
sir.
be invoice.
Yes.
There must be return must be filed.
Yes.
Payment must be done. Blah blah
Yes.
blah. One is there. When the
Yes.
section clearly says, now the notices are coming. Now one of my clients, most of the clients, 3B, they have claimed the input tax credit as per the documents available in 3B.
Yes, sir.
And 2A, some invoices have not been uploaded. It is clearly
Yes,
it
sir.
says
Yes, sir.
there is a excess claim of input tax credit as per the 3B.
Yes, sir.
Is it not there is a right to the government to claim the tax? Is it correct
Sir.
or not? Subject to 36(4).
Yeah, if you look at section 16, subsection 2, clause C,
Yeah.
it says that the supplier has filed his return.
Yeah.
It never says that supplier has to upload the information in GSTR1 or appear in the GSTR2A.
Right.
So my supplier has filed the return.
Yeah.
But
Filed means paid, na?
the tax is paid.
That invoice is suffered tax. Then only it will.
No, sir, that's what I'm saying, that the condition has to be examined independently. It cannot be combined with the procedural aspect. My supplier has filed return and paid the taxes. So
Right.
it should be eligible for the input tax credit. But
Okay.
nowhere of the section 16 subsection 2 clause A, B, C, D mentions that my supplier has uploaded the invoice. That was never the criteria for allowing the input tax credit.
Please repeat.
Section 16 subsection 2 clause A, B, C, D.
D.
The
Yeah.
four conditions never says that the supplier has to upload that invoice in the GST portal.
Okay.
The condition prescribed is the supplier has paid the tax.
Yeah. Filed the return also.
Sir, without filing return, you cannot pay the tax now.
Right. That invoice must have been uploaded if that is the
Sir,
case.
sir, that is not been mentioned what I am saying.
How can we say there are four? Generally, what we mean to say that now the 2B, 3B has come, now 2B, 2A has come, but beginning of that, unless.
Sir, Prasad Garu, with due respect to you,
Right.
the reason
Mm-hmm.
Madras High Court in case of Sun Dichem has come out like that.
Okay, that
If
is
that is the
something
condition of preconditions for submitting the invoice in GSTR1 that should be appearing in GSTR2A, why the Supreme High Court of Madras will say like that?
Satish, that is different as a practitioner. If we quote the Madras High Court, these people won't accept. That is
Sir.
our Telangana High Court should give it. Basically,
Sir,
at
sir,
the,
sir,
at the level
super-
of the assessing authority.
Sir, judgment of Supreme Court is recorded.
Right.
And every officer, every citizen of this country is expected to follow the law laid down by the Supreme Court.
Right.
When you issuing the show cause notice are not bound to follow the principles issued by the Supreme Court,
Yes.
then are they following these principles? No. Then the notice itself is ultraviolet the principles of natural justice, sir. There is the question of adjudication, assessment.
No, practically as a practitioners, all the practice who are listening this your presentation actually.
Sir.
Now we have to give some, first of all, they have taken, some people might have taken time, some might have not taken time.
Yes,
But
sir.
while giving the actual representation to the assessing authority,
Sir,
some inputs have not been appearing in 2A and we claimed it in the 3B. The difference
Sir.
is actually at the time of filing of GSTR 9 only we have seen it.
sir, it may be happened that these invoices are uploaded after 31st May 2019.
Right.
In that case, you are depriving the right of its recipient.
Right.
And as per the Supreme Court judgment in that Daiichi Karkaria Limited and Eicher Motors, input tax credit is a vested right.
That is okay, but in section 16
Sir,
something.
sir.
No. Practically,
the law
it may, there is an hurdle, I think, you suppose.
that to cross that hurdle only I have given this Sun Dichem case law, sir.
Okay. And another query,
Sir.
in their annual return, Srinivas, can I ask the Satish one more
Sir,
question?
Continue.
In the, you just now you told Satish that in the ITC reversal in GSTR 9,
Yes.
some ITC have reversed.
Yes.
Because I have taken more ITC, I have reversed. Still I have carry forward ITC. Do I need, is there any need to make the payment in cash? Still I have an ITC.
Okay, I accept, sir. Still you have a ITC, but you are bound to reverse the input tax credit.
Yeah, by mistake I have taken some unrelated ITC. Now I reversed it.
Now you can reverse it even under voluntary method.
Okay, I have some more ITC. Is
Ah,
the
with
department
the-
having any right to ask me to pay that reversal ITC in cash form?
But while filing DRC 03, it is even accepting credit.
No, I don't pay, but just reversed. Just I have reversed in 9. That a wrong ITC was taken. I have reversed in annual return.
Then now you can reverse your input tax credit now, sir.
Yeah, I have reversed it. But whether that assessing authority has the right to ask, because section 73 says availed is also, because I was told by someone,
Yes, availed and
availed
claimed
is
both are-
also you are liable, because
Yes.
in that case, I mean to say that whatever reversed ITC I am supposed to pay to the government in cash.
Yes, sir. If you look-
Because I heard in one judgment,
If
some
you-
court objected it. Arre, the Baba is having more ITC, still is having ITC in his books of accounts in credit ledger.
Yes.
And he reversed. Suppose I have credit ledger 1 lakh rupees. I have reversed only 10,000. Still I have got 90,000. Do I
Yes.
need to make the payment of the 10,000? But section 73 says that availed is also something, what is, please clarify in that.
Sir, when you have availed the input tax credit
Yeah.
in filing GSTR 3B, it comes and sits into the electronic credit ledger.
Right.
Once the money is credited to electronic credit ledger, to that extent, the government has to keep that money aside.
Right.
They cannot utilize that money for their settlement of funds.
Right. Oh.
If you does not file your return properly and you have not reversed properly, that means for your mistake, there is a pending settlement between the state and central.
That is different, Bahar, right? I am correctly reversed.
No, I'm giving you correctly reversed, then there is no question of payment.
Okay, no, there is no question of payment.
No,
We have a right to ask.
it, then there is no question of payment.
Because one High Court has given one judgment that because he is having that in tax payable tax person is having more input tax credit, just reverse it doesn't mean to pay the payment.
Yes. But if you look at the footnotes of the GSTR 9 return,
okay,
it is said any liability arising out of filing of GSTR 9 return,
okay,
it has to be paid by way of cash only, it is mentioned there.
Yeah, that's true.
That is true. But even while filing DRC 03 for GSTR 9 also, it is accepting credit. No doubt in that.
So finally, mean to say, since the introduction of 36(4) is from 9/10/2019,
yes,
from that period only we have to face problem. Before that, we don't have any much problem of 2A and 3B.
Exactly, sir.
Procedural, as per Madras High Court, that Sunday.
Yes.
So that question is there.
Yes, absolutely, sir.
Finally, you have made a beautiful presentation in a chronological manner from down to.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you,
Thank you very much,
TDPA.
sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Right.
Amaranath, చెప్పండి.
Actually, that question was mine. I was about to ask that same thing. And the main issue is the banking case, the Madras case, Satish ji, Madras case was related to asking them to ask the authorities to permit him to amend this thing. But the question is whether he can claim there is a difference if the supplier is not filed but not paid the taxes and not included that invoices. Can we take the?
If the supplier has not filed his return and not paid the taxes.
In the Madras case, he only asked for the amendment of his own this thing.
Sir, what I am saying that in para 19 and para 20 of the Madras High Court judgment, the Madras High Court categorically came out and said that the scheme of rectification process is not being made available. That is the reason, and no other alternative is made available to the taxable person. Then in that situation, the petitioner is allowed to revise his return.
His own return.
His own return.
Not the supplier's one.
Not supplier's return, his own return. So if I want to reduce my input tax credit and pay the additional tax, then that should be allowed.
If I am a receiver, if I have missed my invoice to take the purchase invoice, then it is a
not that is your own. That is your own action. In that situation, 2A balance will be more than the 3B.
Okay, that was my question actually, and Prasad asked it to discuss at length. Thank you very much.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Sir, I have one question.
Sir, please go ahead, sir.
Yes, sir. See,
how are you, sir?
Yes, sir. Fine, sir. Fine. The question is that, see, already it's spoken. It's already Prasad told section 16(2)(c). Already we have claimed. There is any specific case law for that, sir? So we have claimed excess ITC. There is a specific case law.
How to search and.
No.
I will search and come back to you, or I'll share with the Siddham Shetty Srinivas Rao. Then there is certain case laws.
The department issuing the DRC notices in earlier also. very clear about that. Whatever we have claimed excess ITC, even though we have a ITC, we have reversal. That particular reversal amount also we have paid the interest and the penalty. Sometimes, mostly we have paid the interest also. So in such case, if there is a specific case law, so 36(4) it comes under 9/10/2019, right?
Yes.
Before that, whatever we have paid. So there is any reversal, we can claim the credit.
Sir, I'll because there is a judgment, but I don't remember the citation and this name. I'll share with you.
Sir, please, sir, please. That's very
Sure,
important. That.
Yeah, I'll.
Sir, one more question, sir. One more question.
Question, can I?
Yes, sir.
What submission? Satish Garu,
Sir, chapati.
can you please throw some light on the this notice serial number 12A once, if it is possible for you now? If you have serial number 12A, what exactly they want?
Wait 1 second, sir. Let me go through the notice.
If you have notice in hand, otherwise,
Yeah, I have a notice on hand. Just let me look into the table.
where from they are getting these figures, we could not understand. It's a very cumbersome.
Well, 12A is increase in liability because of difference in liability and onward supplies between R1 and GSTR 9, that is GSTR 1 minus 1 plus 2 plus 12 column of the above only if tax value are positive. So nothing like that. If you look at the box 12, they are mentioning that gross liability, TRAN 1 in 11B, TRAN 1 difference and 11C total liability and 12, they are coming to the difference between. They are comparing these two tables and whichever is positive, they are adopting it as.
I have one example, specific example.
Sir, can we deal this offline because you have my.
Okay.
Can do it because others let us help you.
Yeah, please.
Bullier మాట్లాడండి.
Hello, this is G. Muralimohan from Warangal. Actually, we have paid tax under RCM on this agricultural commodities for the 2.5 months, and we have claimed input. But while giving these notices, they have not taken into consideration that input which we have claimed. So in my replies, I have given my objection that you are not considering the RCM paid by me and claimed input.
Sir, good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Sir, while filing GSTR 3B return, which column you have shown this input?
In the
all other
output column, RCM, tax to be paid under RCM, because there was
okay. In
RCM
input,
for agricultural commodities.
In input?
There's a separate column, taxes paid under RCM.
Then there cannot be any mismatch there, sir.
They have not taken in the 2A.
Because when you pay the tax under the reverse charge mechanism, that will not appear in GSTR 1 of the supplier.
Yes.
So that will not come in, sit into your GSTR 2A. Then it will not be compared. So whatever the difference between 2A and 3B is coming only on account of the forward charge of the supplier. It is not on account of reverse charge of the supplier.
No. But the column of 3Bs, where the gross amounts are appearing, it includes that RCM input also.
Maybe while filing GSTR 9, you could have made a mistake.
No, not like that. But for that 2.5 months only, RCM was there for the agricultural commodities. That we have shown and claimed it. But the notices does not reflect those amounts.
That will not be reflected, sir, because the department is calculating or comparing the outward supplies of the supplier, not the reverse charge mechanism supplies.
Okay. No, this is our own tax which we have paid and taking it.
Then there could not be any difference now, sir. Need not worry for that.
And regarding this section 16.2 under VAT, where during the audits they have disallowed where the seller has not paid taxes, they have denied the input. In
Yes,
which
sir.
we have filed writ petitions in the High Court of Telangana and
Sir.
got stay orders. The High Court has followed the Delhi High Court VAT judgment
Sir.
and they are given stay proceedings. Can we apply this judgment for this also?
Definitely, sir. Why not? Because the law is the same.
Yes,
Principles are the same.
since VAT is subsumed under
Subsumed into
we
GST.
can take that plea also.
Yes. And the input tax conditions under the VAT and GST are the same.
Yeah, that's okay.
We can take that, please, sir. Yes.
Right.
Sir, can we conclude?
1 minute, sir. Mr. Tribulas want to speak to you.
Satish Garu,
Sir.
as usual, nice presentation.
Thank you, sir.
One very basic question I was trying to ask. In your lecture, you were referring to tweets as well as press releases
Yes, sir.
issued by the government.
Yes.
We are in the era of where whatever has been said in the floor of the parliament is not being followed.
Yes.
So what is your view on that? Whether can we take a cognizance of those press releases and tweets?
Sir, maybe at the adjudication level or maybe at the first and second appellate forums may not be possible. But if you take up the issue before the High Court or Supreme Court, definitely it will have the weightage. And to make the argument before the High Court and Supreme Court, you need to have included that point in your show cause reply. Additional ground may not, sometimes it is not allowed in Supreme Court or High Court levels. So I urge all the members, please include whatever you want to say in the reply to show cause.
Nice.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Satish sir, thanks a lot. Our president sir
Thank you.
wants to talk 1 minute.
Sir.
We'll conclude our Srinivas. ఇంకేమైనా questions ఉన్నాయా?
I think
చాలా లేట్ అయింది కదా మనందరూ.
members, I think we can conclude.
ఇంకేమైనా questions ఉంటే మీరు సతీష్ తోటి మెయిల్ రిప్లై తీసుకొని మళ్ళీ వాళ్ళకి పెట్టండి.
Right. We will do one thing. Let the members mail it to our mail ID. We'll consolidate and we'll send it to sir so that as per his convenient time we can reply it.
Yeah.
Sure. Anytime.
As usual, Satish garu,
Sir.
as usual, powerful weapons you have given with your wonderful presentation.
Sir, thank you.
Hope all our fraternity got powerful weapons in their hands right now, I feel, to face the notices, in meaningless notices. And one question out of subject, I will say, when you are presenting the subject, you said that we can file a writ
Yes.
from our plan, this thing, association side or something.
Yes.
So my question is, normally associations when going to file a writ, in these cases, we are facing the problem of locus standi.
Yes, sir. In all
Because we are no way concerned with the notices or anything. Normal question. So what you advise, we are advising our clients to go through their traders associations instead of professional association.
yes.
Because we are ready to face the notices, no issue. Normally today, all our fraternity members are becoming panicked to see the notices itself. But I can say that we have to see the notices. We have to think for its proper reply. And as you said, at least 3 adjournments we can take. Everyone is thinking for first time only they want to write some right or wrong reply and they want to close the issue. But as you said, it is good always to take maximum adjournments. And as of today, tomorrow is the last date for annual return also. We are all having panic work also, in hectic work also in the offices, and we are unable to see the notices also. But wonderfully, in your presentation, it is really excellent, and suggestion for different adjustments also is there.
Sir, I have one more point to be mentioned here, very important point. The department has 3 years of time to pass the assessment order from the due date of filing of annual return. So for the 17-18 due date is 7th February 2020. From there, 3 years. So till 23 February, the government can wait.
Yes. But here, not time, they want money first.
Sir,
Lack of funds only, they are doing all these things.
Sir,
And they are
rush
thinking
to-
that with these notices, they will get that amount.
Sir, in the rush to the collection, the government is disturbing the fundamental rights under Article 14 of the Constitution of India.
Correct.
That no court will permit.
Yes.
One should have the courage to say all these things.
Yes, yes. So my question to go to the court for proper
No,
order,
the professional
it is better
associations.
to go,
Sir, let me explain this.
yeah,
If professionals association want to file a public interest litigation bill, the High Court is rejecting the applications.
Mm.
If the trade bodies file a bill or a petition, then it is going to stand.
yes, yes, that is what I
It's
want.
yeah, it is always better the trade bodies should represent. So if you look at the adjournments for the GST audit and the income tax audit, it is always the the professional association is asking for the adjournment, not the trade bodies.
Correct.
That is the reason today the government has removed the GSTR 9C concept.
Correct, correct, correct.
So it is always better the trade body should come and they have to apply to the government or they have to file the writ petitions.
Thank you, Satish. And as
Thank
you
you very
said,
much, sir.
with the simple English language, you have explained like a mother tongue. We are enjoying like mother tongue,
Sir, thank you
Telugu
very much, sir.
itself. Thank you very much for your nice presentation. And we hope we trouble you in this 2021 year. It will not, you know, we don't have a gap like that past experience. And
Sure.
you may have, I think, at least bi-monthly meeting with you by
Okay,
TDP.
okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Satish. I
Yeah, thank you,
request
sir.
Siddham Shetty, please conclude with a vote of thanks
Yeah,
in the
yeah.
national anthem.
Will Mr. Ramarendra will go with the vote of thanks, and subsequent to vote of thanks, we'll conclude with the national anthem.
Already thanked Mr. Nagesh Rangi, thanked with beautiful words to Mr. Rajesh. Anyway, thank you, one and all. This is a very burning problem. Mr. Satish dealt it very elucidatively, and he has taken a lot of pain and time to prepare the presentation and other things. Thank you very much, Satish. You have dealt with what is noticed right from the basics, what is noticed and how to deal with this, how to make a point-wise points to be noted before replying this thing. And it's a very, very beautiful presentation, Mr. Thank you, Mr. Satish.
Thank you, sir.
And
Thank you, sir.
the subject is very, very burning and very crucial. It clearly shows that people are attending from America to know about the this thing solutions, how to mitigate the issues.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Noted. And I thank you, one and all. I thank Mr. Siddham. I thank my chairman for permitting me to give this vote of thanks, and also I thank Mr. Rangi and permitting us to participate in this mega event, and very, very beautiful attendance is there. And I also thank you, Mr. Siddham Shetty, for dealing the program very nicely. And thank you, Srinivas, and once again, thank you, one and all.
Yeah, let us all join for the national anthem.
And last but not least, thanks to Team TTPA supporting wonderfully for conducting this Zoom meeting, to our Vice President Srinivas Rao Garu and others, and all participants from other states, districts throughout Telangana. Thank you very much.
From America also.
Jaya he Bharat Bhagya Vidhata, Punjab Sindh Gujarat Maratha Dravid Utkal Vindhya Himachal Yamuna Ganga Uddhala Jalajit Ranga. Tava Shubha Nami Jahe, Tava Shubha Ashish Mahi, Gahe Tava Jaya Gatha, जनगण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे जय हिंद. Thank you one and all.
Yeah, now I'm concluding the meeting. Thanks one and all.
Thank you.
నాన్న యూట్యూబ్ చేయమన్నా మనం చేయన్నా ఇట్రా
Leave the meeting.